For today, we're going to be looking at the aspect of jealousy, or I think you could also put in there covetousness, which is also strongly connected with jealousy. So not being really covetousness and jealousy is referring to not being content with what you have and longing for things that are not rightfully yours. Many times covetousness will lead us to do things we know we should not do, or to get things that don't rightfully belong to us. It often, covetousness and jealousy often leads us to participate in stealing or cheating or lying, different things like that. And of course, in a relationship, that can be very, very damaging. You know, when a guy and a girl are in a relationship, getting to know each other, or maybe they're in a marriage relationship, those kind of things can be very damaging. It really breaks down trust when you realize that somebody that you love and appreciate, you have been trusting them, and then you find out that they've lied to you about something, or you find out that they have stolen something from you or been cheating in some way. That can really, really break down relationships, and those kind of things bring damage to relationships all over the world and repeatedly throughout each day. And so there's a verse though in the Bible, Philippians chapter 4 verse 11, that is dealing specifically with something like this, you know, with covetousness. And listen to what the Bible says here, Philippians chapter 4 verse 11. For I have learned in whatsoever state I am, therewith to be content. Now that word state is not referring to the states of the United States, of course. This was written many, many centuries before that, but it's referring to like a condition where we are realizing, you know, hey, this is what I have, and I realize what somebody else has, and I want that for myself. And so maybe we end up stealing or cheating or lying in some way to be able to fulfill that desire. But that can be very damaging in relationships. And so we've got to be so careful to guard against that covetousness. And the solution is found here in Philippians chapter 4, verse 11. The solution is very simple. It's very difficult in many ways because it goes against our default settings and our natural human sinful nature. But if we are willing to trust God to help us have contentment in our relationships, you will be amazed at how many blessings you begin to find in your day. When you just dwell on, when you're seeking God for contentment, and you dwell on the blessings that you do have, and we realize, hey, whatever condition I am in, I can trust God to help me to be content. And also, you think about it, maybe you're not familiar with this, but in the book of Philippians, the Apostle Paul wrote that book, and he actually wrote that book while he was in prison. So he's in probably a very damp, cold prison chamber, and he's chained up in there, possibly even, or for sure locked up inside that room. And here he is with a pen and paper, and you read that whole book of Philippians, it's just loaded with encouragement and wonderful spiritual challenge. And he certainly lived out that example of being content, and was willing to and ready to encourage other people as he was locked up in prison just for preaching the gospel, for doing what God had called him to do. He was content. And if he could do that, if he could trust God for the grace in that awful situation, which is probably far worse than any of us have ever been in, we can certainly trust God to have contentment in our lives, which carries into our relationships.